Hey everyone, welcome to the MLM Lunchtime Leadership Show. Bess McCarty, Victoria, Kansas. And the Lunchtime Leadership Show is here every Monday through Friday at 11:30 a.m. Eastern Time at the MLM Lunchtime Leadership Show Facebook group. Every month we cover a personal growth book. Often it's John Maxwell's. Right now it's John Maxwell's Thinking for a Change. And I'm going to cover one of the chapters today, which is strategic thinking. Just by the way, this show is sponsored by the MLM Millionaire Academy, our generic school for network marketers. We make network marketing simple and easy to do. It's the best methods that I've ever seen for getting customers and recruits and building a team fast. The MLM Millionaire Academy sponsors this show because our purpose is to help people grow, to educate, equip, and empower entrepreneurs and create independent servant leaders. So, let's see. Skill number 5, the power of strategic thinking. So far, in this book, welcome Jeff, and Jeff is sharing this show over to the MLM Lunchtime Leadership Show, so you can find it in both places. Now, Jeff and Brandy present this show Monday through Friday, except on Wednesday when I present. So, so far in this book, John mentions 11 skills for strategic thinking. And so far, this week we have covered, and last week we have covered big picture thinking, focus thinking, creative thinking, realistic thinking, and today I'm covering strategic thinking. Would you believe John Maxwell's just a master at going into all these details and how to do all this. So, skill number 5, release the power of strategic thinking. And this is all about planning on steroids, he calls it. Planning on steroids. And I'm going to quote some things from this book, and I'm also going to tell you some stories from my life. So, hey, welcome, Wendy. How are you? Wendy is a good friend, good person to follow, and a wonderful coworker out at Rock Haven Spa. Okay, quotes from this book from John Maxwell. Most people spend more time planning their summer vacation than planning their lives. And John says, when you think of strategic thinking, what comes to mind? Is it like business or global politics or military? And originally this term came from the military. It meant what you do before you go into battle. Tactics would be after you get into battle, but strategy is what you do beforehand to make it all work. And he tells a story, a realistic story of this lady named Evelyn Ryan who lived in Defiance, Ohio in the mid-1900s. At that time, due to the habit of everybody, the way that society was at that time, she never learned how to drive and she never took a job outside the home. So she felt kind of stuck when she had 10 children. They couldn't make ends meet on her husband's meager salary, and he drank away a third of that salary. So she figured, I've got to do something from home. And at that time, they were having like contests, and commercial contests and jingles and stuff like that. You could win prizes and cash prizes even. And she had done some writing for a newspaper before that, so she said, I'm going to do this, And so she had to organize, her survival of her family depended on it. So she had to organize all these different contests, and then she got a notebook so she could keep track of that. And then she had to think up these jingles and sayings that would be winners. And so she did this especially while she was ironing. She found a way to do that. But not only that, she had to learn the art of each judge's wishes and preferences. Some were more the product focus, and some had more elements of cleverness or humor, or some liked humor, some liked straight. And so she had to learn all these, and she did. She was focused. She was going to do this. What she did is, over the years, she won washers and dryers and small and large appliances, and even 2 new cars, which they sold. And then she won cash prizes, small ones and large ones, like, $5,000, $3,000 at that time. That was a lot of money. So she used the first one as a down payment for her house, that the family could move out of the family of 12 could move out of their 2-bedroom apartment into a house. And, failure just wasn't an option for her. And nothing serves a better person better at this time than strategic thinking. So she did. She not only kept her family afloat, but they all went on, I mean, a lot of them went on to become successful, graduated from college and all of that. So John Maxwell himself says he gives examples of, some people can plan for 1 day, some for 1 week, some for 1 month, some for 40 days. He does an annual planning session. He takes into consideration what projects, lessons, and objectives. And that includes time that he schedules out for thinking, writing, working, meeting, and fun things too, and leaving time for the unexpected. Leave a buffer for that. Okay, I'm going to share now what he says about why you should do strategic thinking and how you should do strategic thinking. But I just remembered that I need to invite people to watch. So while I do this, I'm going to invite you to tag people or to share in a Facebook group that loves personal growth or that loves network marketing. That is one way to expand ourselves, is to share with others, to think of others who could use this as well. So I invite you to do this, and I'm going to share a little story about my own planning. I happen to be a planner because I just like things to go smooth. I don't want to be caught unaware. So like if I go on a trip or something, I plan everything, the rental car and call ahead and double sure and what to take along. And I am a raw food person, so I bring a lot of my own food, or I plan ahead where I can buy it closest and what hours they're open and all of that stuff, just to make it run real smooth, and it always does. All of my trips, whether they're business or spiritual retreats or family trips, they just run really smooth, like clockwork. And therefore I can be attentive to the people in front of me, to my family, to my loved ones, because I already know, what time that store opens and when to go, and I got my shopping list ready to buy for it. So it's real easy. I hardly ever run into surprises or glitches or delays because I plan well. It's just kind of fun for me. Not everybody's like that. There's 4 different personality types, and I'd say 2 of them are into planning. There's 2 fast personality types according to the DISC, D-I-S-C, and the D and the I are more about getting things done and having fun. But then the S type personality, which I am, and the C are more about being thorough and taking time and taking care of details. So sometimes they drive me crazy, but the details. But anyway, it makes my life run smooth, and it helps me to do what I promised to do. So I like that. Okay, so why you should release the power of strategic thinking. It makes life more efficient, he says. It makes it easier, and it maximizes our strengths when we do that. So he says, here's some, motivation for you to think about strategic thinking in your life. Number 1, it simplifies the difficult. The man who is prepared has his battle half fought. And John has systems. John Maxwell, who wrote this book. John has systems about filing. He files quotes, stories, and articles, so whenever he needs something like that, he can look it up. You can tell because on all of his books, they are so well thought out that, he has stories for every principle. So I think his ideas probably come to him, or he runs across stories or quotes. He might categorize and file those to find them later. And I do the same thing with all of my writing and speaking. In fact, I use index cards a lot, because you can put one idea on an index card, then you can file it. If you put a bunch of ideas on one paper, they might go to different files, but if you put one idea on an index card, that can go to all these different files, like for coaching or for speaking or Facebook Lives or leadership or anything like that. And then I found out that John Maxwell does the same thing. He had like a ton of he used index cards. Another friend who is very organized, she also, so it wasn't my idea after all, right? I mean, it was, but other people had that great idea too. But so I find that works very well. John uses his time when he goes to airports. He knows how to get in and out quickly. He uses his time in his car, right? He structures his time. Listen to motivational tapes in his car, educational tapes. When he goes to meetings, he always takes someone along with him so he won't have to repeat everything to them, that is working with him. Uses his waiting time, and waiting rooms are on airplanes. Always has a book along to be reading and use up that time. I do the same thing. I relate to this chapter a whole lot because I put these into action in my life. I love systems too. So he says they help, strategic thinking helps you to ask the right question, like what should we do next and why? Who's responsible for that or for who? What is our projected income and expenses and net? Can we afford it? Are we on target? Are we achieving the quality that we expect and demand of ourselves? How can we be more effective and more efficient? These are actually from Bob Beal, the author of Master Planning. So strategic thinking also makes a person gets a person specific and customizes it to that particular situation. And I'm thinking of COVID right now. A lot of people are getting creative ideas during this pandemic. It's a different environment. Things have changed, and they're forced to relate to society as it is now, not as it was, but to stay current and say what is specific solutions for this economy right now. It sharpens the mind. It gets us specific. 4, strategic thinking prepares you for an uncertain tomorrow. It's the bridge that links you where you are to where you want to be, and it reduces the error of margin. There's a lot less mistakes when you align, when you're golfing, when you align your ball where it is now and where it wants to go. If you take the time to align, if you just take a wild swing, you get much more results. And so it also gives you influence of others. It gains the respect of people. And he says people want to follow somebody who has a good plan. Whether it's a child or a business person, they want to follow the person with a good plan. And this applies to network marketing too, since this is the MLM Lunchtime Leadership Show. It's for all entrepreneurs, but specifically MLM too. So in network marketing, some people will join you because you have systems in place. And these systems could be around customer acquisition, onboarding, or retention, or distributor prospecting, onboarding, and retention. It could be around that. It could be around communication systems within your team. It could be how to reach a core rank. And by the way, a core rank in your company is one that's relatively easy to reach within 1 to 2 months, a focused burst of energy. And so it could be strategies of how we can get every new person to their core rank as soon as possible. So these are all systems. Figure out which ones you need on your team the most. And then you can, if you have a team that is. Thank you for the likes and loves. I appreciate that. And if anyone has a takeaway, I'd love to hear that, or a comment or a tip, or reaction to what I'm saying, a tip about strategy. I'd love to hear that, or about planning. I'd love for you to comment on that below. And Wendy, if you're still watching, hello. Glad. Thanks for tuning in. So these lunchtime shows are here every weekday, either on my page or David Gamble, but we share them over to the MLM Lunchtime Leadership Show Facebook group. And then on Saturdays and Sundays, I'm here for the Ask Best show at noon Eastern time. So we're here about every day of the week. Okay, so how to get these systems in place, how to create a system. You look at what's working, you brainstorm with your team, you improve on it, you do a small test, not for everybody, but do a small test and try it out. You track the results, and then you improve it, and then you bake it into your culture. That first part can take about a year to develop, and then getting people on board with it and really using it, that can take up to 3 years, but it's really worth it for the results. So systems, gives you that influence of others, but gets you the results too. Okay, now I'm going to talk briefly about how to implement the power of strategic thinking. Number 1, break down the issue. So instead of tackling the whole thing, which can boggle your mind and overwhelm you, break it down, because by the yard it's hard, but by the inch it's a cinch, right? So you break it down into little pieces and small jobs. That's what I've had to do with my website redesign, because there's so much there for the many years I've had it, so many moving parts there. But I've had to break it down in pieces, say, let me just do this today. Let me not look at the whole mountain that I have to climb. Let me just look at the step that I'm on today. So we break it down into little bits. We create with our thinking, with our dreaming. One man called it corporate dreaming for long-range issues. There's planning for the week, the day, the week, and then long range. And I like that because that's where the creativity comes in and the dreaming. So how you break down an issue, it could be by function, time, responsibility, purpose, but it's important to break it down into pieces that are manageable. Number 2, you ask why before how. Because if you just rush in and figure out all the hows, you might not get the whole big picture of what you're planning. So we need to ask the why. And sometimes we even need to ask the if. Because it was Eugene Grace who said, thousands of engineers can design bridges and strains and stresses and draw up specifics for machines. But the greatest engineer who is the man who can tell whether that bridge should be built at all. Right? So we want to ask why or even if, why are we building it? Should it be built? Where it should be built and when? So that helps to determine a lot of things. I've been guilty of that. I was once in a relationship that I was trying my best to make it work and trying different communication and skills and all of these methods to make this relationship work. But I failed to ask, should this relationship work? Right? I'm so focused on the how and getting it to work and what my idea was rather than, it turned out that relationship wasn't meant to be long-term. Some are not. Some are meant to be more short-term. Then it was done. It was time to move on. And here I am still trying and working on the how instead of, should this relationship continue? Right? So I've done that. So that's an important question to ask. Do we really need to be doing this thing? This effort or the things on my to-do list. Do I really need to be doing this? Or can I let it go? Or can I delegate it? But John Maxwell says, work in the areas of your strengths. That's important for this as well, part of strategic thinking. He says, number 3, identify the real issues and objectives. Similar, isn't it? You want to be clear on what you're doing and what your team is needing. Ask questions about to discover what could be the real issue. And when I coach and counsel people as the shrink of MLM and as a business and life coach, that's what I'm really doing. Somebody may be very busy telling me all the details of their immediate life and, they kind of get on a roll and run. I say, hold on just a minute now. What's the real issue here? Or they may be ranting about their husband or ranting about their upline who's neglected them in network marketing or something like that. And I just have to say, let's take a breath. Let's back up. Let's clarify what's the real issue here, and what you really need. What is the real problem here? So John says, look to see where you are now and where you want to be 5 years out. And this is exactly what I do in my first coaching session with people. These are good questions to ask yourself. Like, for example, in network marketing, where am I now? Where do I want to be, like in 5 years? What's in the way? And then how do I overcome that? But you have to ask it in that order. Where am I? Where do I want to go? What's in the way? And then how do I overcome that? That's where you often get the assistance of a coach. But that's a first session that I do with people to lay the foundation for our work later. We have to get that foundation in place. And Steve is here. Hey, I can get the replay. I'm at work. I like this topic. Isn't it cool? Steve Redden is a member of our MLM Millionaire Academy Generic School for Network Marketers. I'll post the link for that below in a little bit. Okay, almost finished with this chapter, but number 4 of the how is to review your resources. Take an inventory of your time, money, supplies, assets, liabilities, and obligations, and the people on your team that you need. Now, I'm going to add to John's list that your resources could be your skills, your knowledge, and your experience. Take into account yours and take into account other people's and see if you need to add to those resources. Number 5 method, develop your plan. There's Rolf Smith wrote the 7 levels of change. And he said level 1 is effectiveness, doing the right things. Then is efficiency, doing the right things right. Then is improving, doing things better. Number 4 is cutting, doing away with things. And number 5 is adapting, doing things other people are doing. And number 6 is different, doing things no one else is doing. Number 7 is the impossible, doing things that can't be done. So develop your plan. How are you going to do that? And he says, we'll start with the obvious. I like to start with the open door, the easiest or the ground level thing. Just start there, even though you don't know how to do all those other things. Just start there. Number 6, put right people in the right place. I'm going to add with the right plan. Because if you don't, then you end up with problems, frustrations, and grief. The right person for the right job within your team that you're the leader of. That comes after you notice the resources, right? Number 7, keep repeating the process. Like Zig Ziglar said about motivation, you need it like a shower, you need it daily. Well, you need to keep doing the process too. You know, we need to keep showering, we need to keep getting motivation, we need to keep doing this. So, thinking questions. To kind of summarize this chapter, thinking questions. Am I implementing strategic plans that give me direction for today and increase my potential for tomorrow? So here's four suggestions to put this into action, what you just heard. Number one, might you be missing opportunities by asking, going too quick to the how instead of the why? Number four, are you doing something that's not strategic for you? In other words, are you focusing too much in your weak, spending too much time in your weak areas instead of delegating those so that you can be growing your strengths? And you can track your activities to measure this. Where do I spend my time? Number three, if you have found you a lot of times have the wrong solutions, find the right people to hang around and learn from to help you to be more successful at problem solving. Try to spend time with these people or study them, observe their meetings, observe their problem solving skills and meetings. When you hear this, who now would you most like to meet with? Number four, create a thinking schedule with blocks of time to specific issues. Remember to break them down. So did you get value from this today? Did this help you? Can you think of one thing that you're going to take away and use this week to improve your strategic thinking, to improve your life, to make your life flow well? I look at this as systems and plans and all that. Make your life flow well, more efficiently, and work better and more optimally. I'd love to hear what that is below. Did you get one takeaway or one thing that you can use? I'd love to hear what that is. And Jessica Mizon, I agree, great topic. It kind of makes life work, doesn't it? It's like, it makes life run and work. So today was strategic thinking from the book Thinking for a Change by John Maxwell. Tomorrow is skill number 6, feel the energy of possibility thinking. And Jeff and Brandy will be presenting on that tomorrow. You can find that on Jeff's page, but I always share it over into the MLM Lunchtime Leadership Show, so you don't have to worry about where to find it or whose page. You can find all of them there. You can find all the replays there when you scroll down. There's 700 replays there from 2 years that we've been doing the MLM Lunchtime Leadership Show. There's 600 MLM leaders to know there and interact with and meet with and have discussions with. And when you go there, you can also request a free ebook of John Maxwell's. So all of that we have prepared for you at the MLM Lunchtime Leadership Show. That also is sponsored by our school, the MLM Millionaire Academy, Generic School for Network Marketers. And I'll post a link for that. Actually, I'll post a free class link for that. So you can get the benefit of learning our famous favor script that never gets a no, always gets a yes, is easy, fast, duplicatable, works with all personalities. It's the best strategy I've ever seen in network marketing for gaining customers and new recruits. So we hope you enjoy these gifts to the profession. We love giving them to you, and we'll see you tomorrow for skill number 6 about possibility thinking. Everybody take care. Thank you for joining in. Let's keep the discussion going. Love to hear your comments, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.